In this part of the course, we are dealing with environmental projects. So, as you may guess, that environmental projects are focusing on really like kind of solving some environmental problems. Let's say to reduce ecological impact, reduce waste, or support circular economy, restore natural systems, promote sustainable lifestyle, and so on. So there can be different types of projects, or let's say community gardens, so where it's like shared space for growing food. It's improving biodiversity and building community. So if you are growing like some food in a community garden, you can feel not just the food can be like healthier, but you have control over like what you are producing and under which conditions. So for instance, mm, in UK there is this public space, like incredible edible Todmorden, which is this kind of community garden. So it can be done with, for instance, unused land, where you involve local people and teach gardening, for instance, to children, but also even adults. Then also another projects can be oriented on ecological buildings, like ecologically efficient architecture, low energy consumption, and so on. So, for instance, in Netherlands, there is a good example, the Edge building, one of the world's greenest office buildings. And so this can be like these are like examples of some uh, interesting projects or some project focusing on sustainable mobility, like promoting walking, biking, public transport over cars. So you can promote through various channels this sustainable mobility, or uh, for instance waste reduction, like through composting, zero waste system, community repair cafe. So these are ways how to you can support this waste reduction. Or you can simply just educate people about renewable energies, for instance, like promoting green energy use, building solar devices, energy literacy. So, like there is project named Solar Sister, which is empowering women in solar entrepreneurship in Africa. You probably heard about that. So, uh, you can use this for educating people in your community. So there are important soft skills for environmental projects, like for instance collaboration, that projects need teams. So it's important this co-creation and so on. Then creative problem solving. So this is also important. Also, when you are working alone or also in a team, it's important to support the creativity and exchange of new ideas. So you can use, for instance, design thinking, like emphasize design, uh, ideate, prototype, and test. Then it's important to learn about the communication, how to communicate the ideas, cultural sensitivity, ethical leadership. You have to do the right thing even when it's not the easiest. Adaptability, what we speak about also in different parts of the course, and also very important is self care and resilience. So you have to think about you and your health also, not to overwork and not to have to set kind of like limits for working on certain project. You have to schedule some time for resting and so on. So, how to start or join a project? It's important to explore like what issues you care about, let's say waste or water or food, and you can also research those local initiatives and join some platforms. Then connect. It's important to collaborate with NGOs, let's say schools, uh, organize community meetings, and so on. Then it's important also to build, like it's good to start small, for instance, to create a compost bin or a pop-up clothes repair booth or a green mural, and you can document your process. People love before after stories. And then it's important to share and grow. So share your journey on social media, apply for project funding. You can apply and mentor others uh, to kind of learn about this environmental project and so on. So, after this, I will tell you more about project stages. So, in order to have or prepare successful project, it's good to keep in mind like project stages or project management stages. So, the first stage would be like project initiation. So to define the problem, stakeholders, and scope. So uh, let's say you want to improve urban air quality. You want to focus your project on that. So you should also ask questions who is affected and so on what you want to achieve and with which means. Then there is project planning. You have to consider that goals of the project are resources and risk. So it's good to have also like those goals that are smart and different plans like A, B, C, like flexibility in this sustainability planning is very important because you are dealing with issues which are very complex as we emphasized in other parts of the course, so it's very important to think about different scenarios. So then execution, when you are implementing the strategies, so for instance engaging also the community, let's say you would be installing solar panels and so on. So this is another stage of the project. Then of course you have to somehow monitor whether your project is going the direction that you want and that it's working as you want. So it's good to have some feedback loops and adaptability. So let's say if your project is focused on waste management, you should focus on whether really you are reducing the waste or so on, what you set as a goal. And then of course if the project is over, you have usually some time frame, or is it like it can be related to the budget and so on. And so you have the last stage is closing and you reflect, share outcomes, and you analyze what you have achieved and what you can do more in the future. So you can celebrate, of course, wins, what you achieved, but also document learnings. I mentioned that it's important to focus on SMART goals. So you probably know that this is just abbreviation. not just like adjective smart, but it's also like abbreviation for five features of the good goals in the project. So it should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So, for instance, specific, like it should be like, for instance, reduce energy consumption in school by 10%. Then it has to be measurable, so use electricity bill to track progress. So you can see that this is measurable, you are dealing with some data. Achievable, so it should be based, for instance, on previous data and budget. Relevant, so it aligns, for instance, with SDG 7, affordable clean energy. And time bound, you want to achieve it in certain time frame, uh, like let's say 12 months. So, of course, when you are planning projects, you want to consider this time frame, like you want to look at it from this perspective of time. Like, let's say you want to focus only on short term goals, like reduce paper use this semester, on the medium term goals, like transition campus to LED lighting in 2 years, and long-term goal can be like achieve zero emissions by 2040. Also, if you are planning some project, it can be either only very short, small project, or it can be long-term project. But even in the long-term project, you are considering some smaller, shorter goals, uh, like it is also useful to have some kind of small sections of your project, of your bigger project, like some kind of milestones and so on, that you want to, let's say your project would be altogether lasting like or you will be working on it for 3 years, but you want each 3 months you want to achieve certain things. So you can, when we look at that initiation phase, for instance, so we want to really clarify the problem, define stakeholders, and determine the scope. So if we are dealing, for instance, with urban air quality project, the problem is rising air pollution from traffic in city centers. The stakeholders that we have to keep in mind are local governments, schools, cyclists, residents, transport authorities, and so on. And the scope is pilot project in 3 neighborhoods focused on reducing PM 2.5, which are those tiny tiny particles that are in the air, and that can be quite harmful for our not just lungs, but they are so small that they can go in to our circular system. So and it can cause harm to our health, of course. So uh, then, if we look at the stage two project planning, so the purpose of this stage is to set goals, allocate resources, identify risk, and map timelines. So let's say we can have example school energy efficiency campaign. So the smart goal is to reduce electricity use by 10% in 12 months using behavior change and tech upgrade. So you can have different plans like plan A, LED replacement and energy saving workshops. Plan B would be if budget is cut, focus only on behavior campaigns. And plan C can be if engagement drops, partner with student influencers. So you can use also, for instance, Gantt chart So there are also different electronic tools for this, or like softwares where you can focus on the like time frames and the kind of like what you want to achieve in which stage of your project. You can conduct a simple SWOT or risk matrix, and so on. If we focus on the third stage of the project, which is the execution, we are dealing really like how to turn the plan into action and engage people. So let's say if we focus on installing solar panels in low income housing, you can train local people to help with installation and partner with local governments for permits and subsidies and host community solar days to educate and build support. So it's good to really think about delegations. So uh, it's good to use RACI metrics. So who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed in this situation. It's good to also communicate these updates visually through social media, let's say some stories on social media, posters, and so on. And also, it's good to anticipate some community pushbacks, like prepare frequently asked questions or short videos. Then, stage four is monitoring and controlling. So, you can focus on tracking progress using indicators, gather feedback, and adapt if needed. So, example, it can be like waste reduction in cafeteria. Uh, you can use measurable indicator like food waste weight per day measured by bin sensors or manual of course checks, and you can use midpoint review. For instance, are students using the compost bin, and you can accordingly adjust, introduce clearer signage or volunteer eco guides. So you can use like Google Sheets, or for instance, for easy KPI tracking, schedule feedback sessions, and create a simple visual dashboard to report progress. And the fifth stage, as I said, it's the closing, the ending of the project. You can like it's focusing on wrapping up, on reflecting and sharing the impact. So for instance, if we have this community garden project, the final report is the final stage of the project. The You can put some, of course, some photo materials and so on. You can of course reflect like what worked, what didn't, and you can think about like how to make, let's say, some follow up if it was working, where to focus or where to expand, and so on. You can host, let's say, some celebration event with the people who were involved and the people who where like stakeholders write one paper, for instance, about impact stories and so on. So this was about the stages of projects when you are planning some environmental projects.